Look, I don't know how to tell you this, but you've been brainwashed. And I know that because I have been brainwashed. Okay, well, not exactly like that, but here's what I mean. If you're in your 20s right now, you've been fed a story almost your entire life about what success is, what it means to live a good life, and what should be important to you. And what I've realized over the last few years is that the thesis of this story is accomplishment. See, we've been led to believe that if we just accomplish as much as possible in as short of a time as possible, then we will be fulfilled and happy and have the life that we want. I mean, just think about your experience growing up. The push to do extracurriculars, to get good grades so you can get into a good school. Then when you're in school, making sure you do good things to have a good resume, to get a good job at a good company. You've been sold an idea that the purpose of your life is to accomplish. So either we work really hard, accomplish a bunch of stuff, burn out and realize the futility in it, or we feel like we're behind because we're not an influencer or because we haven't sold a company by the age of 26. And this kind of disparaging message gets reinforced all the time. Especially in the US, as an individualist society, we revere and idolize the struggles and successes of the individual. We love a good hero's journey, that one unicorn-like individual who overcame all odds and accomplished great feats, especially when it's a young person. And while those kinds of stories can be really inspiring, I find that more often than not, it leaves us feeling not so great about ourselves. And if we're constantly comparing our lives with all the nuances and day-to-dayness of that to the highlight reels of these larger than life stories, it makes sense why so many of us feel lost and stuck. By comparison, it feels like we haven't accomplished anything. And it makes attaining a fulfilling life feel almost unobtainable or hopeless. This has 100% been the case for me. Trying to accomplish a lot and be impressive at a young age has driven almost all of my major life decisions over the past decade. I spent most of my 20s feeling like a failure because I was struggling to make ends meet and felt like I didn't have it all figured out yet. Like, I would get so jealous and overwhelmed when they released the Forbes 30 under 30 list that I literally couldn't look at it. I could not bring myself to look at the list. And this still happens sometimes. I see other people building these incredible businesses, making incredible content, and part of my brain is like, why am I not there yet? But I've also done a lot of work to break out of this brainwashing. And that's actually why I'm here. That's why I'm building this channel, is to remind you that although this brainwashing may be holding you back, it doesn't have to. Isn't that great? So if you find yourself feeling lost or stuck, I'm actually really excited that you're here because there's a few reminders that I want to share with you that might help you feel a bit better. A few things that I feel called to share as I approach my 30s. Number 1, keep it in perspective. You got to realize there is so much life left to live. In a way, you've barely started. If you're 25 right now, you've had maybe 10 years of being a conscious, present person. If all goes to plan, you get another 7 of those. That's a long time. So realistically, the best days of your life have not happened yet. There's so much time for things to go extraordinarily well. So having a few years in your 20s where you feel lost or stuck, in the grand scheme of things, is actually a very short period of time. Here's the other thing for some perspective. People hitting it big or figuring it out at a young age, I would argue, has more to do with connections and being in the right place at the right time than it does hard work and grit. Look, some people have connections. Some people start with advantages that you didn't. And that's just how it is. And if they didn't have connections, they got lucky because they just found their thing super early. The people that you see hitting it big right now have been doing whatever they've been doing for the past 10 to 15 years. 10 to 15 years. That is an extraordinarily long amount of time to build mastery in something. All this to say, if you have big dreams, just consider that you haven't been in the right place at the right time yet, or you haven't found your thing yet. And that's okay. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that it's not possible for you to still build an extremely fulfilling and exciting life. Everything you want to create is still possible and on its way to you. Number 2, focus on what is going well. See, when we get caught in comparison, our tendency is to focus on lack, to focus on what we don't have. Spending 10 minutes on Instagram, you might think that you were the unluckiest person to have ever lived. But here's what I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet that there are things in your life that are actually going really well. Things that bring you a bit of joy, give you a bit of comfort or peace. Even if it's as small as having a roof over your head or having good use of both of your legs, there are things in your life that you can be grateful for. And the counterintuitive thing is that by focusing on the things that are going well, focusing on the things that you can be grateful for, will bring you more things to be grateful for more quickly. So my challenge to you is to implement some kind of gratitude practice, whether it's every morning, every night, or even just at the end of the week. Put time aside intentionally to take inventory of and to focus on what's currently working. And I'd love to know from you in the comments, what's one thing that you're grateful for right now? For me, it's this video. Number 3, share your struggles with other people. There is nothing worse than feeling like you are alone in the way that you're feeling. I felt like a failure for a lot of my 20s. It was heavy. I was embarrassed to feel like a failure. I was ashamed to feel like I had failed. But when I started to actually share that story with other people, that's when it started to change, because I realized that it was a totally normal thing to feel. Counterintuitively, sharing your shame and fear with others helps you reduce the amount of shame and fear that you feel. So you are not alone in feeling stuck or lost. And if you don't believe me, just check the comments. My invitation to you here is to own the fact that you feel lost and stuck and be willing to vulnerably share that with other safe people. Because when you feel heard, I promise you, things will feel lighter, you'll feel more capable, and things will start to shift. And finally, number 4, try and enjoy the process of figuring it out. Y'all, listen, because this is very important. You're only going to get to figure out your life's purpose one time. Only once. And when you do, you're gonna wish that you didn't rush through figuring it out, because that's half the fun. Think about the last time that you did something really hard or difficult. I'd venture to bet that there is a fondness when you think back on what it took to accomplish that thing. And that's exactly what's gonna happen when you get to a place where you don't feel lost or stuck anymore. Plus, life is about so much more than just accomplishing the thing. It's a very small part of the whole experience. The vast majority of your life is gonna be spent working towards those things. So enjoy that vast majority. Know that this time is temporary. Eventually, you will figure it out, and that appreciated times of struggle are far more valuable than rushed through periods of success. So to close, I wanted to share a quote from the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. As my friend Pastor Rob Bell warns, don't rush through the experiences and circumstances that have the most capacity to transform you. Friend, this is your transformation. I get that you feel lost and stuck, and I get how hard it is to break out of that brainwashing. But the fact that you're here watching this video tells me that you have the desire to improve, and given enough time, you will figure it out. So in the meantime, see if those 4 things help. Keeping it in perspective, focusing on what's going well, sharing your struggles with others, and trying to enjoy the process. Let me know in the comments which 4 of those resonated with you most and why. It would also be super rad if you could throw this video a like so that other people could find it and benefit from it as well. But until next time, remember to do your best and enjoy the ride.